to start. So everyone, welcome to VMUG number 10, our celebratory edition of the virtual Miro user groups. Speaking here in the yellow t-shirt is Raz.
And Anna.
Here with the pretty hat. So we are the EMA community leaders for Miro. We will be guiding you through this session and give you a quick intro just for you to understand who we are, what this whole thing with the virtual Miro user groups is about. We basically want to showcase and bring in front of you people that are using Miro for various kinds of activities that hopefully will help you in discovering new ways of nurturing the features and the cool things that you can do in Miro. And today we have Thomas Hartmann and Thomas Gläser that will walk us, the Thomas power, Thomas at the second power. And we're super happy to have them for our celebratory edition of the EMA VMUG. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. We will share our screen just for the very, very first part, and then we're going to hand it over to our awesome speakers. All right, let us do this. So there's a Miro board, obviously, that we'll be working on. As I said, today's topic is about reducing risk and saving time while working on business ideas with the Experiment Tracker, a framework or a tool, something that these two gentlemen will tell you more about, and hopefully you're going to be able to take something away with it. And now I'd like to hand over the digital microphone to Thomas to tell us a little bit about themselves and what they do. And we're going to start with Thomas.
Okay. So yeah, here I am. Not feeling 100% to be honest, but I try to give my best today, at least for this 1 hour, and Thomas will, the other one, will do hopefully major of this session. Yeah, I'm Thomas. I'm a passionate product leader. My background is actually coming from design and business. I founded my own design studio after my studies, and then was working for different kinds of clients, from like big, like old school companies like BMW to companies like JetBrains, actually turning into the Litex, where we were building a tool called CoSpaces for education. And then Mozilla and Arduino, if some of you tech nerds know them. And right now I'm at XING Events. So we are having we are doing a event platform which is connected to XING, the social network. Some of you from Germany most definitely know XING, and some of you who don't. We are basically kind of like the German version of LinkedIn to some extent, so a professional business network for people to connect and find interesting events and stuff. And furthermore, besides my work, from time to time I do workshops around topics like UX and product strategy. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Thomas.
Awesome to know you.
Everyone, welcome Thomas.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So yeah, my name is Thomas too. Really easy to remember today. Yeah, I'm from Straightforward Products, and we really focus on helping people who have an idea in their head. And yeah, we help them with validating their business ideas to make sure they actually build something customers value, right? So a typical frame is 12 weeks where we really try to get first committed customer. And we do that with corporates. Sometimes that's in form of an entrepreneurship program where we have multiple teams with multiple ideas, or we work together with accelerator where multiple startups are in one batch, or sometimes it's really one-on-one connection with startups. And we just go through the puzzle of figuring out how a idea needs to build out in order to be successful.
Amazing. Thank you, Thomas and Thomas, for the great intros. Really happy to have you here. And now, everyone, before we share the Miro board here in the Zoom chat, we just want to give you a quick understanding of how to use Miro if you're encountering it for the first time. Just to move around, simply click and drag if you're using a mouse, or just pan using your trackpad. It's a pretty simple and intuitive experience. If you, by any means, you move things or you do something that you didn't want to do, you can always Control or Command Z to undo, just like any other piece of software. We're going to have an interactive component to this session today. Thomas and Thomas will have something really interesting for us. So keep in mind you can duplicate certain elements if you might need to. And there's some elements on the board which are locked. We'll kindly ask you not to unlock them. Miro does have a new feature where a board owner can lock and kind of lock everyone from unlocking stuff. So, but yeah, in general, try to not unlock anything that you see is locked. That's kind of the rule here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab the share link here for Miro. I'm just going to paste it into the Zoom chat. And we really, really kindly ask you to join us on the board and actually contribute because we have a nice icebreaker for you. So I just sent in the Zoom chat, I've just sent a link to the board, and just feel free to join us here. I'm counting the numbers here. There's 25, 29 people. I'm going to see your cursors. It's just so colorful. Look at that. All right. It's going to give everyone a little bit more time to join us. So there's 5. All right. Just going to
want to bring everyone.
Yes. Yeah. So I will use a funky little feature of Miro, which brings everyone to where I am. I'm going to summon you here. Everyone. You brought everyone to your screen. There you go. All the buzzing cursors. Now, what we would kindly ask everyone to do, we're here in the icebreaker exercise. Make sure to find us. There's the 2 very, very easy steps. Steps number 1 is we want you to find an icon that represents you, your personality, or whatever you feel like in the current moment. And if you look on this left side of your screen, there's 3 dots at the bottom, and then you can use the icon finder feature to find an icon. You can use the search bar to search for something that represents you or your country or whatever you feel like, and just place it on the map, on the mute map, whatever you're joining us from. Let us do the same thing here. So we're gonna go for vampire. There's the vampire.
We've used the vampire so many times.
We should change it, right?
Time to change.
Just drag the icon that represents you. Oh. Someone should control Command Z. We just learned about that. Let me just, I think someone moved the map.
And then we have to lock it. Yeah.
Folks, I will mess up with your plans now. I'm going to move the map because someone moved it before, and I'm just going to lock everything. You might have to reposition your cursors. Oh my God, this is so fun watching 50-something people move around. Who put the huge beer on top of Europe?
It's me.
So me, I just you're covering my zombie.
Sorry, it's too big for your zombie. I have to minimize it.
I wonder who put a huge beer on top of Europe.
It's me. Oh.
All right, this is fun.
Oh my God, that's
someone duplicated everything. No.
They're very ambitious.
Yeah.
Now that I can move it, I'm gonna duplicate it.
And actually admin lock this. All right. Here's the US and America's crew.
A lot of people are living in the ocean, right?
Sorry?
A lot of people are living in the ocean, obviously.
Yeah, I can see a lot of icons in the water, folks. I see what is that? Is that a is that a kangaroo?
I think
someone has the Mexican flag in water. No, I don't think that should be there. All right, let's see what we have here. Oh, I think I know what happened. It duplicated the icons as well, and that's why they're underwater. Oh well, let's just ignore those. Good thing everyone positioned everything. Wow, this is cool. All right. Like a very nice spread of audience here, ranging all the way. Is that yeah. East to west, everyone is here. Okay, awesome. So if you've done that, the second step of this very simple exercise is to take the comment feature. You can look at the left side of your screen. There's a comment icon, and click on it and just put a comment on top of your icon and tell us your leave a comment with your name and the location, so we can kind of judge your skills of finding your country on a mute map.
Sure, we're gonna
Yeah.
share the middle.
Yeah, so someone just asked for the link again. Here's the link to the Miro board. It's the last message in the chat. Awesome stuff. Now just add one more comment. You can either use the toolbar on the left or hit C on your keyboard to trigger the comment function. Oh, this is so nice. We have Skippy. Have Rachel from Portland. We have Aurelia from New York City. Let's see who else we have. We're just randomly picking people. We have Nikolai from Switzerland. Agnieszka from
Hopefully we pronounce
Poland.
your name
Sorry if
correctly.
we, yeah.
Thomas from Munich.
We have Katie from Wales. We have Pavitra from India.
Super
Awesome.
diverse.
Yeah. Nice to see what everyone's joining from. Awesome. Thank you everyone for this very, very quick icebreaker. Now, I want to ask you to do one more thing as part of this intro part. I'm just going to bring everyone to me. We'd like to give you the chance to connect with other people based on your roles and interests. So just go ahead and grab your LinkedIn or social network or whatever network you're using. And just paste the link here and kind of put it in the box that best represents your current role. Just copy and paste that. I'm just gonna bring everyone here and then stop moving so your eyes don't jitter.
I just figured out that I was at least in 3 or 4 boxes in my life already. that means I'm old.
Why is it twice? My profile is there twice?
Probably someone copied it by accident.
Yeah, so if you want to just paste the link and have the box nicely, just copy the link and just paste it directly on the Miro board, and that kind of bookmark will be generated automatically. Let's see who everyone is. Oh,
We're gonna lock.
who moved the board?
Raise your hand.
Just gonna move everyone in the right box again.
Okay, and now lock.
I'll lock everything. Thomas, you're getting a feel of what kind of people we have here? A lot of designers, a lot of people on product, consulting, a few marketers,
Marketing, sales.
founders.
The other bucket is interesting, I would say.
Which one? The other, yeah.
Other bucket, yeah. And one entrepreneur, no, 2, yay.
A lonely entrepreneur.
It's actually, I think it's 3 people.
Yeah.
Oh, 3 people, yeah.
3, yeah.
Like how it kind of like.
It's a nice mix though. It's product design mostly, but also, you know, different stuff.
Some consultants,
Yeah.
marketing, sure. Researcher.
Right.
A few of tech.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. What is the comments here?
Awesome. Take a few more seconds to add your link here.
Some people paste the link with the comment.
Yeah, people get creative.
Yeah.
As long as we can access that link, anything works. Awesome. Thank you everyone for the introduction. We highly recommend if you want to connect with people in your area, or hopefully even in other areas. Let's say you're a product person, you should definitely consider looking at other people like consulting or marketing. Maybe you can learn a thing or two. That's the whole point of these events, to get you to meet and mingle and meet other people. let's move forward with the last part of us talking, and then we'll just hand it over to our awesome speakers. We have a question parking lot. Throughout the session, if you have any questions, you can choose either to post the questions in the chat. We'll be monitoring that and kind of collecting all the questions, or you can always come back to the question parking lot and simply double click on a sticky note to start writing your questions in here. So just keep that in mind. Once the event is done, the presentation and the workshop part, we'll be coming back to the questions and answering them and seeing what our speakers have to say about your awesome questions. So keep that in mind. All right, and without further ado, the reason why we've gathered here today, I'm just going to hand it over to Thomas and Thomas. I will stop the screen share and kindly ask them to screen their share their screen. Take it away, gents.
Yeah, let me start off before Thomas takes over. 1 second. So now you should be able to see my screen, right?
Loud and clear.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So let me give you a 5 minutes framing of what is the experiment tracker, what is the motivation behind that, why did we think about building a tool like that, right? And you see 75%. Well, what is the 75%? Yeah, 75% of startups or products fail. 75%. So, if you have an idea now, or your company, as I see that most people are product managers here, chances are 3 to 1 that you actually are not successful, right? And this is a huge problem for a company, for a founder, for a product manager, for our society. We could be so much more efficient. And why is it still that we fail so miserably? And this is like the question we work on. And last 10 years, there's a lot of tools coming up to improve the situation, right? To bring that number down, right? And basically what we want to do with the experiment tracker is we want to de-risk in a systematical way, right? And basically what we do is we start off with, writing down the assumptions, like we really name our assumptions, which are in our new business model or in our new product, yeah? And one after another, we try to mitigate them and test them, right? So here's a question for you. When you work as a product manager, what is your biggest risk when you start off with a product? Maybe you can write something in the chat. What is your biggest risk? Where's my chat?
I would say subjectivity.
Sorry?
Subjectivity, yeah.
Okay, what do other people say? What do we see here? Subjectivity monster. So let me go over. Here is a research done by CB Insight, and I found out that actually 40%, 42% fail because they built something which is not valued at all from the market, right? 40%. So if you can make sure there are people, irrelevance, Leo, just put in irrelevance. That's another word for no market need, right? So if you can ensure that there is a market need, yeah, you will slash your risk by half. And there is a lot of other things, which you could actually test and validate before actually building the big thing, right? So here is a process overview of how you can de-risk a business model or a product, right? You start off with an idea, yeah, and you visualize an idea, and you can use tools like business model canvas, value proposition canvas, lean canvas, whatsoever. It doesn't matter. You also can write a business plan, although I don't recommend that because that takes a lot of time, right? So you just want to, visualize and then think about it hard. So what could actually go wrong? And these are your risks. So you write down your risks and you rank them and you take the biggest risk. Yeah, that is your riskiest assumption, and you turn it around and make a hypothesis out of it. You say, if I do this, I expect that to happen, right? And you build an experiment about that. This is step 3 here. Minimum viable, we call it experiment, because with minimum viable product, everybody started to do something, to build something. And we just want to learn. So we mostly even don't need a product. So you take your riskiest assumption, you build an experiment around it, yeah, and then you run an experiment, and you see whether there is people, you see whether your solution is working, you see whether your sales channel works, and so on and so forth, right? And you track that with the experiment tracker. That's the idea, to go this cycle, right? Take the biggest risk, have an experiment, run an experiment, and run over the process. That's the idea of the experiment tracker. Systematically de-risk your product development, systematically de-risk your business development. So let's visualize it with the experiment tracker. So first of all, you collect your assumptions. What could go wrong? Yeah, what is the biggest risk? Then you pick your riskiest assumption. You say, okay, if that one is not true, we're gonna mess up the whole thing, right? So this is your riskiest assumption. And then you think hard how you can actually experiment, or how you can prove whether you're right or wrong. And that's your experiment. Then you run and analyze your experiment. Yeah? And then you just run the process over. You pick your second biggest risk, design another experiment, so on and so forth, right? So that is the principal process, right? And Thomas will make now an example. Just one last note, because like we have really little time here in this 1 hour. So I have a ebook which describes a little bit better the whole process, and you can download it here from the link if you enjoy the session today. So Thomas, show us an example from the horrible, abstract example I did, right? Give us something which is more tangible, which is more illustrative.
You cannot start screen share while the other. Okay, but now I can. Good. Hi, thanks for the introduction, Thomas. So, so Thomas and me, actually, we worked together in the past in different kinds of projects and workshops, and this is where I got in touch with the experiment tracker, and I was aware of tools from Strategizer like Value Proposition Canvas and also this kind of lean canvas, but what I was missing always was a more tactical tool, right? So something which guides you through the process, like a value proposition canvas helps you to understand your current status quo.
Folks, we kindly ask you to mute yourselves while we're holding the sessions. Thank you.
Yeah, so what I want to say is the value proposition canvas, for example, or the business model canvas helps you to map out and understand the status quo of what you have. It also helps you to understand future products and businesses and even features you want to develop. But what it doesn't tell you is how to get there and support you with a structure to get there. And that's why I really like the experiment tracker, because it gives you guidance in times of uncertainty, right? So you're not sure if this is going to work out, and there's so much insecurity already that a canvas where you have a map from 1 to step 5, you can grab it and go through each step and learn on the way without like thinking about how to do it. So how to do it is just crystal clear. You should worry about what you find on the way. So I brought a little experiment, like an example. Imagine we are a fashion shopping platform, and our CEO says we need to increase direct user engagement, and I'm pretty sure it has to be through some like messaging apps or integrated messaging functionality on our fashion platform, right? So good. I mean, you can just go and build it if you feel very confident. But from my own experience, I have rarely seen teams, at least, who are very confident in building. So the first thing you actually have to think of is that this is not given, right? So increasing direct user engagement is a goal, but it doesn't mean that this will be true, as we learned from Thomas. So the first question is actually, where's the evidence for it that this will be successful? And you start with an assumption. So in this case, you turn this belief into an assumption. You reframe the goal. You say like, hey, we believe that having an integrated messaging service will make our users, which are mainly fashion bloggers, communicate more often with each other. So this is what we assume. And we don't know. And I think that's the first thing you also need to kind of like implement in your head, that things are not given. So this is just an assumption, and it's an assumption as long as you don't have evidence, as you don't know that this will turn out well. So what the next thing is, for example, for this case, you think about, okay, what kind of like experiment could we do? And it depends on, I would say, three main parts. One is who's actually a customer segment. Let's say, okay, let's tackle our 10 like most heavy users, right? And the simplest and fastest experiment we need in order to learn is an interview, for example. We just try to get in touch with them through, maybe we are lucky and we have a customer pool, and talk to them and ask them and try to understand how they currently communicate. And then what's also important is to define the success of this experiment beforehand, because if you don't do it, chances will be high that in the end you will get some result, and then you negotiate if this was cool or not, or if this was successful or not, and somehow you agree that this was actually quite successful. No, you should define what you want to see beforehand. So for example, we are measuring the problem. So is this really a problem? That's the core root, what Thomas said. In most of the cases, there isn't the need, there isn't the problem. And we want to see if 4 out of 10 people should state that they are already using direct messaging, or they, so they already have probably something in place. Then we run the experiment, we do the interviews with them, and then we come back and then we map out our key insights. So for example, in this project, we learned our users are already having other messaging services in place, but they're complaining about not having it nicely integrated. So I would say our first assumption was they need a deeply integrated own messaging service, which is probably not the best thing to do. So the next step, or the last step, is a decision. Whether you pivot, so you make a change, or you persevere, you stay where you are, so you're already quite good, or you kill the idea already because you figured out that's completely useless what you did. But it turns out here you need to pivot. So the next change you need to do is, okay, let's set up another experiment. We just take a simple Zapier integration or something like that, and take what they're already using. So the assumption here is about the solution. Before, the assumption was about, is this really neat? Is this really appreciated? And then we are moving over to, okay, there is a need and they have some problem, and maybe our solution of having a external messaging platform somehow integrated is already good enough. And you don't have to build it. So you just start with a click dummy of like how it looks like to set up this Zapier integration, maybe with WhatsApp for Business, distribute it again to your customer pool with 8 heavy users, and then you measure interest. And you want to see that a minimum of 5 out of 8 should be really interested and should really value this solution for you in order to call this successful. And then again, you learn, you map out what you have learned. Okay, 7 out of 8 have been very happy with the solution. So you can more or less stay there and then continue with integration efforts and kind of like fix your UX bugs and stuff on the fly. So I would say the last experiment here is actually that we integrate WhatsApp and then we roll it out to 10% of our customers. So that's the next experiment. It's kind of like simple MVP with a feature flag and some message that we have this new beta feature now and looking forward for feedback. And then we just measure adaption, for example. And we want to see minimum 40% using this messaging service and send at least 10 messages in the first 2 weeks because we want high engagement and we believe we will have high engagement. And for example, if what we have learned is, or could be something like, okay, yeah, round about 40% used it in the first 2 weeks, but they only sent 2 messages. That's also, I would say, quite common case. So you do something and it is somehow successful, but not really, or something is not working exactly well. And in the second experiment, you thought you have it. And in the third, you think like, damn, it went so well. We actually have to go back and understand and talk to those people why they didn't use it more often. So they used it, but not as much as we thought or we hoped for. And then you can continue at some point where I would say the team has to be confident. And in past projects, I measured team confidence as another metric to see like, okay, how often? So I got this asked multiple times in the past, like, when do you know you are done with this experiment tracker? And it actually depends. It depends on when you feel ready. If you feel very insecure and volatile, you should probably run one more to some extent with, okay, I'm very sure. And then if you're very sure, you can also challenge why you feel so sure. Yeah, because we already were running 8 experiments. We rolled it out to a certain extent and so on and so on. So okay, there's some knowledge, there's some learning. And that's why I feel more or less confident now. Enough me talking. I will. So if there are any questions, just put it to the board on top. We will come back to that. But the most interesting thing here is actually to do something now. And Thomas, maybe you can take over.
Okay. So should I share my screen 1 second? Yeah. So we prepared a little challenge for you because, you know, like once talking about something is nice, but, you know, as once you take it into your own hands and start doing something, you know, the questions arise, and that's what we actually want to do. Here, just below, you have the hands-on experiment tracking, and we reduced the tracker for you guys. So take your idea which you have at the moment, take a project which you have at the moment, and, you know, just start off with the process. So think about, and you have the guidance here on the left side. We have a big playground on the right. So you go over there on the playground. You claim your board by putting a name and role and a project title on top of it, right? And then you start off, you know, and follow the guideline here. You start off with thinking about, okay, what are the assumptions I have in my project, in my product, and write them down. And we just ask you to write down 3 assumptions you have, and then take the riskiest assumption and put it over to the left, right? You take the riskiest assumption, put it over here, and then you think about an experiment which you could run to mitigate the risk, to test your risk. If you don't have any project in mind, or you don't have any product you're working on at the moment, just take any startup which you like, or any idea which you saw on the market, and think about how you could actually test it. It's just about you getting the hands on the tool and start thinking about it, because once you start with that, right, you find out, okay, what's hard about the process. So once again, you write down your riskiest assumption, right? You pick the riskiest one and place it on top of the board. And then you define an experiment and you define how you actually measure success yourself for the experiment. Okay?
So everyone that is following in Zoom for the screen share, we kindly ask you to move over to the Miro board. I'm just going to paste the link one more time in the chat. So for everyone that is still in Zoom, we kindly invite you to join us on the Miro board and actually do the exercise. We'll be waiting here for you. Let me just, I see some people are already working. So there's the playground. You can obviously see it if you go to the board. So just pick a board out of all these 120 that I think were created. Claim one that is yours, as Thomas mentioned, and follow the instructions to go through the exercise. We will start a timer. Thomas, how long are we going to give people for this?
Very good question. What did we say? I think there's some time on the left. 15
I think it says 15.
No, but I think we
10.
run a little bit over, so 15 would be too late. So we don't have any Q&A anymore. So sorry, this is a startup scenery. You got just smashed your time. So I would say maximum 10 minutes, maybe 8.
Okay, let's go for 8 minutes, and then we'll see how people are progressing, and we could add if we need it. Okay, folks, 8 minutes starting now. You're going to see it in the Miro board, and we will shut up until you get your work done.
Nice, perfect. And if you have questions, just paste it on the chat, right?
I actually have one suggestion. We're gonna run a bit of music.
Yeah, we're gonna put some nice jazz for you. 3 more minutes,
Good.
folks.
Yeah, looking good.
There is 1 more minute left, folks. All right, and I think the timer is up. Thomas, do you would like to give people 2 more minutes or?
No, I think it's fine. I think some of them are already finished.
Mhm.
And so, okay, so generally speaking, how does it feel, or which questions did arise in your design of the experiments?
Yeah, so folks, you can either unmute yourselves and ask the questions live for our speakers, or if you'd like, just pop them in the chat box or add them directly in the Miro board. There's 3 options for you. Who'd like to share how the exercise felt like? Well, we could give a few thoughts of our own as we also did it. I think it's really nice, kind of a very crisp and quick way of doing these few things. I think the
One thing I would just like to
yes.
clarify, because I saw a question here around,
Sure.
do you have some sort of scoring framework for the riskiest assumption? And it's actually on the board at riskiest assumption. The heuristic, I would say, is first of all, you start, the most riskiest one is around the customer. So first of all, does this customer segment exist? Does this customer segment have this specific problem, or is there a specific need? If there's no need, that will kill you everything already. So you don't even have to think about a solution and the pricing if the need isn't there and if the customer segment isn't there. And then you evolve, actually, you can take the value proposition canvas as kind of like a guiding principle. So first evolve everything around the customer segment side. Then everything around the solution is next. So is your solution really one of the best solutions for this problem? And if you figured out this one, that, okay, there's a customer segment, they have this problem, then there's, and our solution is valuable. then you can ask about the price. But don't start asking about the price if you haven't figured out customer segment yet, and also that your solution is probably a fit. And if you have all these things nailed, then in the end, there's a fourth bucket, I would call it communication. So you have a cool solution people like, and they're willing to pay money for it. How do I get it to the market? Through which channel? Is it through Facebook? Is it through like direct marketing? You can also experiment this. What's the best? Many startups nail the first 3 points and then they fail because they can't get people to know about it. Or they don't manage to find the right words to explain the product. So it's also like a explanatory risk, I would say, in the end. But it goes like this, I would say.
Yeah. So here is 2 questions in the chat. So the first is, where do we write the data we want to collect? So in the playground, we did not show you the last 2 columns, to analyze your experiment, because you now need to go out and do the experiment. So just to simplify in this small exercise, we remove them. And there is a second question. Really like the process, it a bit difficult to come up with a success measure, seems a bit arbitrary. For example, if our success rate is 50% and the result is 47, hard choice. So how do we deal with that, right? So as Thomas said, we like really to go first out to go to customers, right? Talk to them about the problem. How do you solve that today? Ras and Anne, for example, had here also the critical assumption, would they be paying? A lot of you have a willingness to pay. So the first question is, okay, how big is it a problem for them, right? So go into the problem, and there it is a little arbitrary to say, okay, 4 out of 10 is good and 3 is not good. But it's just, at the very beginning, it feels arbitrary. But once you make your experiments bigger, right? So you have a landing page, then you have like thousands of people come to your page, then it gets more tangible and it gets more, tangible. At the very beginning, it's just to start off, training the habit. Have express your thoughts, right, before the experiment. Because if you don't do that, after the experiment, there's always a way to make it look nice, and you tell yourself, oh, well, we kind of made it, right? And there is no rule that you do not progress having 47% reached and your success rate threshold was 50%. It's always after the experiment, you review the result, and as a team, you decide what to do. And there is no hard rule, right? So sometimes you decide, okay, we learned something interesting, but we are not sure yet. Let's rerun an experiment around payment. You did a landing page, you ask your customer, and then you do a landing page to verify your results a second time.
Right, so it's basically cascading experiments. You do one and then another and another and another until you kind of step by step you land on the answers that you need and the insight that you were looking for.
Exactly. And the interesting thing is that your experiments get bigger and bigger. So in today's world, there is a lot of people, or like the default 5 years ago was, I have an idea, I built the whole thing. Building the whole thing is also an experiment, but it's damn expensive, right? Yeah. So you want to have a smaller experiment, and then see whether you go in the right direction or in the wrong direction. And Thomas just said sometimes he does check with the teams. Okay, how sure are you? You can ask yourself the betting question. How much money would you bet on the success of your product? Is it $10? That's really low. You should definitely run some experiments. Is it your car? Is it a monthly payment? Would you bet a 1-year payroll on your idea? I mean, if you look on a successful entrepreneur or a successful product, the one who is owning that, he would bet a lot. He would really bet a lot, right? And you try with each experiment, you try to come closer to that, you know, state that you're really convinced that your product is working.
And one follow-up question on that, Thomas, because since we're people that do design sprints quite a lot, and it's kind of part of what we do, and obviously validating assumptions and making the right decisions before making any expensive commitments, like you just mentioned, right? You said back in the day, you had an idea, you have to build it in order to get the learnings. But with a method like the design sprint, you can kind of get a shortcut and get to those learning quicker by getting people in the same room, building a prototype and testing. What kind of experiment would be, let's say, too big for the experiment tracker, or how do you accommodate, let's say, some larger initiatives like a completely new branch of a business, or let's say a new app that you want to build?
See, two thoughts. First thought, I like design sprints, but you know, like what a lot of design sprints are lacking is a proof of the problem. So if you don't have proof that there is a problem in the market, you know, you can get crazy with your ideas and your design. So it, you know, it doesn't help you a lot.
Right.
That's the first thing. And you know, like we start off with small experiments, yes, but I ask you to get the experiments bigger and bigger, right? So you really, if you do a, if you want to have a app at the end, right? It doesn't matter if you deliver the value via app or any other way. You know, you can do like the famous startup from Munich, Freeletics. They started off with emailing people exercises. Then they send out a PDF explaining the exercises. And then as a third step, they really did the app. So it's not the medium how you deliver your value, it is the value itself, right?
Yeah.
So you can grow, and you should grow your experiments after a time.
Right.
What I found, I just want to have this like a side note, a story. When I was at a design sprint workshop with Jake Knapp himself, and I went to him in the breaks and said like, well, is a design sprint a good methodology to validate the business opportunity? And then he said, no, a design sprint is there if you have validated this is a good business, and then you find a problem there and you try to improve it, but it's not the main goal of a design sprint to figure out what kind of like assumptions do I have in my business model, and are those customer segments really paying for it, and things like that. So that's that's just not intended to be like that. But I would say you can. So what I do is I like the design sprint framework, and you can just make it yours. So just basic idea of, okay, we start with some problem, we try to get closer, think about a solution, and then go out and build a prototype. I squeeze the experiment tracker in to define actually the outcome of the prototyping day, and come up with some success criteria, what we want to see. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
So there is one more interesting question here in the chat, whether it's a difference between B2B and B2Z. Yeah. So I don't like to think about B2B and B2Z because it's basically person to person. It's the question if we have like one person as a customer or a purchasing group, right? So let's make an example. If you sell something, B2C, it's really easy. I ask Thomas whether he wants a new iPhone, right? You can have the same situation in B2B. For example, if I want to sell something to a real estate agent, it's really easy to reach out to them, and it's a one-person show usually, yeah? But it gets more complicated if you have like more people deciding about the purchase process, right? Let's say a car, or let's say whatever, a factory. It's like a lot of people. So it really depends on how many people are deciding is more the question than B2B or B2Z. A lot of B2C cases behave like B2C.
What I see is a challenge in setting up a fast experiment in B2B. that's if you have a very narrowed down target group like pharmacists who have specialized on some specific illness or whatever, and then trying to find them can be quite tough. And you probably also need special knowledge in order to run this experiment and so on. So I see this more as a problem, but not necessarily B2B or B2C itself. What's just easier if you have something like, I don't know, if you look at XING Events, a lot of people just create events. So it's very easy. You can go out to Starbucks and run an experiment there and ask them, or run some survey, or go to LinkedIn, and you will find some people in some groups or some Facebook groups. That was my, at least, tough encounter. And even if you go to B2B, sometimes you have legal issues depending on the industry, right? So you are not allowed to contact them personally because you have to ask the sales representative first, and this kind of stuff, which is annoying. But yeah, I would just like to say, like, two words. I don't know how much time do we have.
Thomas, we do have time. So in the event description is actually 1.5 hours to 2 hours allocated. So feel free to go forward with questions if people still have. I see 2 questions in the question area. I think one of them you already answered, but I think you could take the other one if you want. I can read it for you.
Yep.
Does the experiment tracker also apply to a learning environment?
To apply, what do you mean with a learning environment? That's the main goal of a startup, to learn, right?
I'm guessing, or maybe the person who asked the question initially can unmute and kind of bring extra explanations, but probably it's more of an educational environment, like schools or trainings or things like that.
Around content creation?
Yeah, it's a guess. So I highly encourage the person who wrote this, if they want to bring extra details, now is the time.
So basically, what we do with the experiments is we want to learn whether we are right with our assumptions, right? And every business model has assumptions. Every new application has a lot of assumptions. And that's exactly what we do.
Yeah. Someone just wrote in the chat, it is about what I mentioned about an educational environment, or a more for education, for trainings and purposes like that.
So if you think about, well, if it's about an idea within education, you surely can use that, right? So if it is about educating people, I'm not sure whether this is the tool you should actually.
I wanted to say something about, I mean, or I guess what could be a good story is when I was working for CoSpaces, we did a tool for K-12, K-13, I guess, was it like in America? And so we had 3 different customer segments, something what Thomas said, right? There's the teacher, who's a user. Or actually 4. There's the teacher, who's the user. There's the principal of the school, who's usually paying for that. Then there's the child itself, which is using it and enjoys it. And then there are also parents who also would like to say something about it and so on. And we had 2 different assumptions in the beginning. So we wanted to know, just zoom out a little bit and say, okay, is this more for like the traditional school system, or is this more for like after school sessions? And then we had like 2 experiments. We crafted a simple landing page, and then we showed it to a couple of parents. So like, okay, this could be some like nice learning exercises with your kid. And then we were running another experiment, like showing this to teachers and say like, this could be like an in-school setup. And then like see how they like the solution. And what was also very interesting is about other solutions they're currently doing to solve the problem, because usually there's always something else out there. So we learned a lot about the market with just 8 interviews to say, oh, this reminds me of this and this tool, but a little bit cooler because of that. And so, okay, write it down. They like this more and this. And finally, we decided then, after running those 2 experiments, that there's much more interest and pain on the teacher side, like in the classic school system. And then we went ahead and we're deep diving there, and remodeling our tool a little bit and coming out with a first live data prototype. And And at some point, we just felt confident, and we skipped like 2-3 steps and said, like, okay, just roll it out. Because it was like a month of work to reconfigure an existing product, paint it a little bit different, give it another name, and here we are, CoSpaces. Tada! Are people even using it? Just give it away for free. Will people sign up? Will people use it? How much time do they spend? And then we went from there. I don't know if this was something helpful, or did you mean something else?
Yeah, so it seems it was very helpful. So you got it right, Thomas and Thomas. Great. Anyone else? Do you folks have any other questions for our speaker? I'm just trying to have a look at the board. There's another question, but I think we already answered. Yeah, do you have some sort of scoring framework for the assumptions? I believe we already covered that one.
You can also have a look at, I think it's a little bit too much in detail, but at least it's a nice article. Just Google assumption juice press. Which guides you like through
resource in the board.
Yeah, let me just...
Yeah, you can put it there. It's called
assumption
juice press. Like
juice.
Yeah.
Nice.
You squeeze out all the assumptions and make juice out of it. Yeah, and then they talk a little bit more about you have to start with the problem, then you have to start with the customers and so on. So I find it a little bit too detailed, but yeah, it gives you a good idea.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question, Thomas, on the same topic? You talked about the problems. You said, what kind of activities do you typically do, since everyone is kind of behailing the concept of design thinking, and it's all about building empathy with the user and defining their pain points and their problems, and then attempting as a team, company, business to target those specific problems with a solution. What kind of activities would you recommend for the people listening here to do before jumping into the experiment tracker? Because as you said, start with the problem, start with the core problem, and then kind of generate experiments that are meant to solve that particular problem. What types of activities do you do, or would you recommend to define the problem, to better understand the problem, to frame the problem?
So for the start, we typically have one, like the first experiment is always the same with all teams we do. It is the biggest question is there a customer for your product, right? And do you find people who actually can express the pain or the job to be done, right? So, and there we run experiments, batches of 10, yeah, we send them out, we give them a clear structure on how to interview people, yeah, not talk about the solution, not talk about the solution side, just purely listen to the problem and how they solve it today, yeah. And that's the jobs to be done framework which we use there. And you know, interesting enough here, like with the experiment tracker, you typically start off when you have a idea in your mind. So design thinking, you know, like if you have like a field of, you know, like we want to do something in whatever virtual conference, yes, we want to have some, you know, new business in that area. So in that case, you start off really broad, right? You want to get some you know, inspiring things, like somebody who's a heavy user, somebody who's using it not at all, some, you know, some expert, some mix, right? But once you have an idea, yeah, and you say like, this is my idea, now I wonder whether this one is a good business model, then you want to narrow it down and focus as, you know, get as focused as you actually can, because experience shows that we starting off mostly too broad, right? We think that everybody want to use our product, and at the end of the day, when we talk to them, you know, or if we want to show them the product, they don't purchase anymore. They don't purchase, right? So we want to be really focused and narrow once we have an idea, right? And that's typically the first experiment which we do, yeah, because it's incredible how much you can actually learn by talking to the people, right? And then we jump off to the solution side, and just somebody wrote here that actually Aaron said, okay, prototyping, pretend to type. We work a lot with that. That's like the first experiment on the solution side, right? Give people a visualization and then ask them, okay, how would that have changed your situation in the past, right? And you get a feeling whether it's for them, and then you can make it bigger and can make a clickable prototype. You can do whatsoever. So somebody asked here for an example. Galina, hello. Here's an example from Munich, actually. You might even know him, Patentpilot. Yeah, he started off with an idea making XING for patent lawyers, right? So he went off with a PowerPoint presentation doing interviews, right? And people, you know, they were like, not really. Yeah, and he thought, okay, you know, there was that one guy, as soon as I talked about sales, you know, he got crazy, right? And he thought, okay, maybe it's this is the right direction. So he changed his PowerPoint slide deck towards a little bit more analysis of patents, right? And it got the right, you know, like he got better feedback, but still not there. And then he thought, okay, this is, you know, it's going in the right direction. Then he analyzed 200,000 patents and put it into a Tableau. It's like an online version, which is basically for free, yeah, where he could actually visualize the different patents, you know, like which attorney did which one, did how much volume-wise, you know, country-wise, company-wise, and stuff like that, right? And he went to the patent lawyers, and they liked it, right? And he convinced 5 patent lawyers to put down 5,000 euros before he actually had a product, right? And that, you know, gave him the confidence that this is something the market needs. And this is a nice example of what we think about, you know, validating business ideas. You know, you have proof in your hand that you actually should build that thing.
Awesome. Well, I would like to mention like one example here from Aniel, UX researcher about Commerce Content Hub. Not sure if I just quickly share my screen here. Oopsie daisy. Yeah, Commerce Content Hub, and all these assumptions here that were mainly about providing users with buying guides will increase their level of purchase confidence. Adding a product comparison chart will help them to make a better decision. Adding a product review on our page will make them buy it. So those are all about the last part here about communication. So I would assume you have an established product out there where you have customers paying for that on a regular basis, but for some reason it looks like it's not probably growing as much as you think, and maybe it's a product which needs a lot of explanation in order to understand it, and as soon as they understand it, they love it or something like that. I would assume that that's the current state, because if it's not, then go 1 or 2 steps back, and then yeah, the assumption is adding a product review video will increase purchase decision is the most critical assumption right now. And I would question if, yeah, in general, so I would say the assumption is more like we believe we have a product which is not hard, which is hard to understand, and we believe the problem is we need to talk about it more. We have to explain it better. So that's the assumption here. And then the experiment could be, I would not just dive in directly into A/B testing, which is, I would say, like quite advanced. Maybe go step back, and you can set up an experiment where you test a couple of ideas, right? Like with a unmoderated user test and a click dummy of, imagine here's a video, or imagine here's a comparison chart, and you just show one by one, like, does this help you to understand the product? Yes, no. Does this help you to understand the product better? And then measure which of the 3 things work best, or maybe you need all of them because they work together. You need to have a video plus a comparison chart and so on. And then you run this with like 10 people, and you want to see that 4 or at least 5 out of 10 say, yeah, thanks to this, I understand it, and I will purchase it now. And you have to make it a little bit more explicit that people really purchase something as a proof, not just like saying I will buy it. Yeah, this is cool. I want to see that after this video, people come, leave their email, leave their credit card, and actually do it, in order to say, okay, that works. So yeah, so the measure purchase is already good. So you really want to see, you can guide them to some purchase page. So like, just leave your money here, or give me your PayPal, or like you don't have to have the full-fledged payment cycle. Just say like, here's our PayPal, just PayPal us like 10 euros or something, just as a proof you take money and you give it to us after watching this. So that would be some feedback here. Was this
Thank you so much for those. Anyone have any other questions for Thomas and Thomas? I love this Thomas and Thomas thing. It's fun.
We actually had quite a few questions.
Yeah, no, very good set of questions. Folks, last chance for questions before we wrap things up. All right, perfect. I will add the Miro link here one more time just for us to collect feedback. We would just kindly ask you to take a little bit more. It's going to take 1 to 2 minutes tops to help us out with some feedback in order to make these events better. Thank you so much, Thomas, at the Second Power, for the presentation and the activity, and for answering all the questions. I think it was, for me personally, I think it was a really great set of insights. So folks, what we're going to do now, we have some voting dots here, and we have a matrix. So if you want to follow me, we have a matrix that measures the knowledge that you gained on the knowledge that you can apply. Take a yellow dot and just place it in a quadrant that best describes how you feel about the content and everything you've learned today, and just click and drag the bubble in one of the 4 quadrants. Let's see how you folks feel about this. Just click and drag, super easy. Oh, someone has a big dot. All right, looking at the voting right now. I'm gonna share the screen so we can catch it in the recording. All right, a few more seconds for people to vote. Seems like we have quite a lot in the top right quadrant, where people that learned a lot and they can actually apply it. So happy to see it's valuable for you.
That's good to hear.
So I'm just gonna bring everyone to me one more time, just in case you just joined the board. So drag the dot in the appropriate area that best fits your scenario. Let's see. All right. Seems like everyone voted. All right, and next up, we have one last interactive exercise for you. We have accolades, improvements, and suggestions. Just click and drag the sticky notes from the left and drag them in each of the columns. It would be great if everyone could share one idea per column. So in the green column, what went well? In the yellow column, what could be better in terms of everything? And then in the last column, the pink one, what should come next? What are some topics that you would be interested in seeing in future virtual Miro user groups? Just a few thoughts of how you felt about the session and our speakers. Just lock these real quick.
Just on a side note, Thomas and me are not gone. So we replaced our LinkedIn and XING contacts up there. Would be happy to see that you continue using this one, whether it's the canvas or what I've also seen that people use it and put it as a a structure for a Jira story, right? And you just run it through and place a ticket in Jira with like, okay, what's the riskiest assumption? What do we want to see? And then manage it in any like project management tool you want to have. Yeah, whatever you encounter and find out by doing it, yeah, let us know, and we are happy to help. I mean, this was just like a very like not actually a deep dive, but like touching the experiment part a bit. And yeah, you simply have to do it again and again and again. But at least I'm pretty sure it will help you to feel a little bit more secure during the process and having a structure which goes like, okay, next experiment, next experiment, next experiment.
Pretty nice feedback here. Thank you so much, everyone. See, there's still some people writing. Let's give you a few more seconds to wrap up your idea. Someone left a note here, says, on target for things I've been thinking about. I think that went well, just judging by the formulation. All right. Everyone finished? There's Luba is still writing. Let's give them a bit of time to write their happy thoughts. So yes, everyone, this board will be available to you after the event. So if you ever want to come back and review some of the content that Thomas and Thomas talked about, or you want to connect with them on LinkedIn, you have all of the details at the top of the board. Let's connect, let's talk, and thank you so much for taking part. Before we wrap up, I see everyone is finished with this. I want to thank you. Yeah, a lot of messages in the chat. What we want to tell you is that there will be a recording of the session. We will be posting it in the Miro online community. So let me just bring everyone to us here. So if you want to access the Miro online community, there's a lot of things going on in there. We talk about different topics. So you can join the conversation in there. And if you want to learn more about future events, we have one coming every month. So make sure to check out the community event site. You can just click on the icon here, and you can go ahead and check more of these events that are coming up soon. And we thank you, everyone. Yeah.
And if you know anyone who's interested in being a speaker or has an interesting topic to share with us, please reach out, because we're curious to have a conversation with that person.
Yeah, maybe it's you. Maybe you're here and you want to talk about how you use Miro to power your work. So with that in mind, thank you, everyone. I'm going to stop the screen share here. Our speakers, you want to say any last words for our audience before they head out with their evening, day, morning, wherever you are from?
I just want to say, like, please go to Miroverse. Shout outs to the Miro community team as well, because they managed to put the experiment tracker up in the Miroverse template gallery quicker than they usually do it, just because I said, like, well, we have this event, we have to make it faster, and they did. So yeah, thank you for that one.
I think you actually linked it in the board. There's a link in the board to the Miroverse. Yeah, I just saw it now, Thomas. Sorry for not mentioning it, but yeah, definitely check it out. There's a lot of great templates in there. You can actually find the experiment tracker there.
Cool design sprint templates as well from Just Matt, maybe.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you for sticking with us. Have an amazing rest of your week and try and stay productive. Yes. And all the best. Take care. Bye. Thank you so much, Thomas and Thomas, for being with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.